But this is the guy caught perjuring himself, and the memo CBS released last week show that they said they were going to blame the guns in Mexico on the Second Amendment. Is that not a form of false flag against our most basic of rights, sir? And what would you do, if president, to people like Eric Holder?
Well, he should be immediately fired, and then there should be an investigation and find out if charges should be made. And that's obviously over the top. And all these kind of sting operations and false flag, this is criminal. And I think they do it constantly. I think they were doing that when there was this so-called attempt to kill the Saudi or the Iranian ambassador. You know, that kind of stuff is just way too much. But no, they should be investigating. And you know, that's one thing I think the Government House Committee is doing a pretty good job at investigating that. But I don't know whether charges will be made, but he deserves to have charges, up against him.
Well said, and you got it right the first time. The claim of the used car sales and wanting to kill the Saudi ambassador, and even mainstream media had to admit that was totally phony and a pretext to attack Iran. Yeah, that was the real excuse to blame it on them, and we know that is. I just wonder about that, whether that guy will ever get tried, because if he does, maybe the truth will come out. And sometimes they won't try these people because they don't want the truth to come out. So it's just another propaganda stunt as far as I'm concerned. Now they want to go after Syria. It's now admitted the U.S., Israel, and others are staging giant military attacks inside Iran. What do you make of Congress not being consulted on that? Well, unfortunately, that's been happening for a long time, and Congress is just totally negligent on this. And, the other night when they were talking about this in the debates, on what the president's responsibility is when they, shoot down or are able to get one of our drones. And the argument was, should we go in and get it, or should we just go in and destroy it? And I tried to get attention on that. My suggestion would be, why don't we avoid it by not sending drones over a sovereign nation just looking for a problem to start another war? I mean, they never talked about, the lack of wisdom of having been over there and losing a drone over a foreign nation which we consider an enemy. I just think that is it's a reflection of a policy that has to be changed. What's your view on the NDAA and the End of Posse Comitatus and the declaration of the whole world as a battlefield? Yeah, well, I think the significant difference is not so much in what they have done, but the announcement and the arrogance of it all, that they actually put it into law. Our government's been involved with our CIA and involvement in overthrowing governments, and this for a long, long time. And, of course, last spring, I guess it was in February, where the administration admitted that they could assassinate American citizens, and now they're putting it into law. So this to me is an extremely wrong way to go. This is a giant step. This should be the biggest news going right now. It's literally legalizing martial law. And yet, in our debates, how often does it come up? It didn't come up at all. And then the arrogance, and this is the one thing Rand got stopped, the arrogance of them trying to push through on their voice vote, that if you go through a trial and found innocent, the government wants the right to put you in prison for life anyway. And fortunately, they wanted to do that in voice vote, and he finally got a vote on that, and that was canceled out. But that is arrogance of the administration and neglect of the Congress in using their authority and responsibility, as well as the people. That's why it's up to so many of us now to wake the people up, because they don't probably realize the significance of it. But this is big. This is big. The monetary issue is big, all these things I've talked about. But this step where they can literally arrest American people, American citizens, and put them away without a trial, and you heard Lindsey Graham say, well, if they ask for a lawyer, tell them no lawyer for you. I mean, that is arrogant and bold and dangerous. Let's hope and pray that we can get that kind of stuff reversed.
What's up with these sorry politicians? Lots of bark. When it's showtime, whimpering like little shih tzus. You want big cuts. Ron Paul's been screaming it for years. Budget crisis? No problem. Got $1 trillion year one. That's trillion with a T. Department of Education? Gone. Interior, Energy, HUD, Commerce? Gone. Later, bureaucrats. That's how Ron Paul rolls. Want to drain the swamp? Ron Paul. Do it.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message. If you believe in this information and want to support its viral spread, go to the Infowars store at Infowars.com. We've got the new G.I. Joe Infowars t-shirts. We've got the incredible Pro Pure gravity-fed filters available at Infowars.com in the store. We've got a new DVD, Scientists Under Attack, the Don't Tread on Me flag. We've got all sorts of different bumper stickers to help spread the rebellion virally. It's all there. Wristbands, citizen rule books in every order. Order online at Infowars.com today. The water filters, the canteens. It's all there. Infowars.com.
We're back at the Infowars Nightly News. I'm Aaron Dykes. Now, on Monday, we spoke at length with Ben Fuchs, but there's so much more. He's a registered pharmacist, by the way. He's going to tell you about his background, and we're going to get into how you can use nutrition and really just general knowledge about your health to address your own issues, but also specifically to disengage from the tyrannical systems that we face today. It really is an infowar that applies to your own health as well. Think about how much knowledge they've kept from us. And the quote we were talking about during the break, the people perish for lack of knowledge. And that includes submitting to a centralized system on all fronts, including food, nutrition, health, and the rest of it. So, Ben, let's get back into it. Last time we spoke in depth about your list, the first 2 or 3 on there, the importance of protein and fat intake for losing weight and for gaining good health. And where does the list go from there?
Well, also protein and fat for cravings. Remember, your body's going to crave certain things, and if your brain is telling you you need fat and you need sugar, you're not going to be able to use willpower to get it. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to hit the brain's satisfaction buttons. For sugar, use protein. For fat, use essential fatty acids. The last thing we talked about when we talked last was carbohydrates. Carbohydrates get a bad rap. Because most of the carbohydrates people think about are refined processed carbohydrates or grain-based carbohydrates. Now, we didn't get to talk about grains, but they're a serious problem. And I think we mentioned the fact that political hegemony co-evolved with our ability to process and agriculture and grow grains. So grains are a big problem. Sugar is a big problem. And when people think about carbohydrates, they typically think about grains and sugar, or refined sugars and refined grains, so they always want to be on a low-carb diet. Now, when it comes to grains and sugars, that's true. You do want to be on a low-carb diet when you're referring to grains and sugars. But when it comes to vegetables, you don't want to be on a low-carb diet. You want to be on a high vegetable intake diet and eating as much vegetables as you want. Last time we talked about the environmental protective factors that are found in vegetables as well. So, Chapter 3 is carbohydrates. When you think carbohydrates, you want to make sure you're getting most of your calories from carbohydrates, but they need to be vegetable carbohydrates, whatever that takes. If it means a salad for breakfast, if it means vegetable juice all day long, using veggie juices, whatever it takes, you want about a pound of vegetables for every 50 pounds of body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you're looking at 3 pounds of vegetables a day. It's a lot of vegetables for most people. Yeah. A couple big salads a day, 2 or 3 big salads a day. The next, if we can just continue, the next chapter, Chapter 4, is fiber. And fiber has a couple of very important roles to play. One of the most important roles fiber plays for weight loss is it expands your stomach. And when your stomach is expanded, signals are sent to your brain that say, I'm full, and it shuts down the appetite. So eating more fiber is a great way to fill yourself up and shut down your appetite, and there's lots of ways to do it. One of my favorite ways is nuts, especially almonds. And when you're using nuts or you're using fiber, especially if you're using them to fill up, to lose weight, make sure you drink lots of water with your fiber. There's 2 main kinds of fiber, by the way. There's soluble fiber, which is the kind of fiber that's in peaches or pears. It's kind of squishy fiber. And then there's solid fiber, or insoluble fiber, which comes from nuts or seeds. It's like the kind of fiber that's in a stalk of celery when you peel that little wire off, or the kind of fiber that's in the shells of nuts. They're both important. You need both kinds. They're especially important for the digestive system. And we didn't get to talk about digestive health, but there is no system in the body more important to take care of than the digestive system, and there's no system in the body that will mess your life up worse than the digestive system, than problems in the digestive system. There's a commercial on TV about Crohn's disease, and there's a lady, and she talks about how...
Popped up virtually out of nowhere.
You know what yeah, it did, right? Crohn's disease is a classic food-based disease, and she says in the commercial, the whole line is, Are you worried about Crohn's disease? You can't go to parties and you can't go out at night because you'll never. Basically, what they're saying is you're going to have to go to the bathroom every few minutes when you have these kinds of intestinal diseases. Well, let me tell you something. One of the best ways to protect yourself from a digestive disease is to make sure you're getting enough fiber. There's lots of other ways too, but that's one of the best ways. You want, by the way, around 4 tablespoons of fiber a day. Most of us are lucky if we get a teaspoon of fiber every day. My favorite way to make fiber or to get fiber is to make your own fiber, where you get yourself a little coffee grinder. Put some flax seeds in there, press the button, makes the most delicious ground up fiber. You can throw pistachios in there or almonds, delicious. Put it in your smoothie, sprinkle it on salads. And then chapter 5 is water. You want to be drinking half a gallon of water to a gallon of water every day. There's different takes on water. My personal favorite water is distilled water. There's power waters, and there's charged waters, and there's structured waters, and these are all very good. But for most people, distilled water is going to be fine. What you really want to watch out for, though, is tap water, especially fluoridated and chlorinated tap water. Most water is chlorinated. Almost all water is chlorinated. Almost all water is fluoridated. And let me tell you something about fluoride and a chlorine. They are specifically toxic to the glands of the body, especially your brain glands, your thyroid gland. It's not really a brain gland, but it's close, and your pineal gland. The pineal gland is the gland that's responsible for higher consciousness. It's the gland that processes serotonin and processes melatonin. Both melatonin and serotonin have very important spiritual significance.
So-called third eye.
Exactly. Your pineal gland is your third eye. And very interestingly, it had been called your third eye by ancient people. But when they found the pineal gland, and Descartes called it the seat of the soul, by the way, the pineal gland. But when they found the pineal gland and started to examine it, they actually found eye tissue in the pineal gland, because the pineal gland is sensitive to light. Now, only God knows what a light-sensitive gland is doing flat dab in the middle of your brain, but the point is it is sensitive to light, and it's involved in serotonin and melatonin metabolism. These are two very important neurotransmitters for higher consciousness. And think about it, by the way, the best-selling drugs in the world, among the best-selling drugs in the world, are serotonin drugs that manipulate the serotonin system. We all seem to singularly have these serotonin problems. In any case, the pineal gland, which is responsible for the processing of melatonin and serotonin, is also very, very, very sensitive to fluoride. In fact, the highest concentrations of fluoride in the body are found in this absolutely critical gland that's important for higher consciousness. Now, that smells like conspiracy theory to me, if anything does. Why would they want to have this unbelievably important gland, very possibly the single most important gland in your body, to be fluoridated? Only God knows why that is, and I'm sure you know the story of fluoride in the concentration camp prisoners and all that. Exactly.
And the Soviets too, and all of it.
Exactly. Fluoride is a classic dumbing agent, and it's the active ingredient in Prozac and a lot of other serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So if you're taking Prozac, you are fluoridating yourself above and beyond the fluoride that you get from water. So when it comes to water, you want to be super clean with your water, which is why I like distilled water. And you can also use structured waters. Water is important for detoxification. Water is important for the hydraulic system of the body. The vertebrae and the spinal cord are hydraulic systems. Water is important for the cartilage in your joints. Cartilage swells when it contacts water. Water is important for digestive health. Water is important for helping your body, for being able to digest your food. You will feel crappy when you're dehydrated, and you will feel hungry when you're dehydrated. So once again, a great tool for dieters is the next time you think that you're hungry, go get some water. You could very well just be dehydrated. It could very well be that the water will satisfy your hunger, in addition to the fact that water will swell your stomach and will activate all your satiety, your satisfaction hormones. So chapter 5 is water. And those are your macronutrients, your big nutrients: protein, essential fatty acids, carbohydrates, fiber, and water. The next half of the 8 chapters of good nutrition is micronutrients, trace nutrients, things you need, tiny little bits that you could think of as the pixie dust that activates the macronutrients. So you need grams of protein, you need tablespoons of fat, you need grams of carbohydrates, you need grams of fiber, and half a gallon to a gallon of water. You could think of vitamins and minerals as the little pixie dust that activates the macronutrients. What's important about the vitamins and minerals is you cannot make them. They come from your diet, which is super critical, because it means if you're not supplementing or you're not getting this stuff from your diet, you're not getting them. In fact, one of the things that we learn in pharmacy school is that what we call diseases are many times nothing more than the manifestations of nutritional deficiencies in these elements that you absolutely must have, that you cannot live without. So I like to tell